Hi there, it's Laurence Bradford from Learn to Code with Me doing another HTML video. And yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so we left off last time um, just talking about all the tools you need to just build a simple HTML website. And now we're actually going to start using some of the tools and learning a bit about HTML. So first things first, let's talk about the anatomy of a basic website. We have the HTML, which is the structure, and then we also have the CSS, which is like the presentation, and those two come together to make a website. So I like to think of HTML like a face. So you need HTML to have a website, right? CSS is kind of like the makeup on the face. So you actually could have a website on the internet with nothing but HTML and a web server, and then I guess a domain name, and that's really it. So you don't even technically need CSS, but I think 99.9% of the websites we go to do have some form of CSS. Okay. So here's some examples. A paragraph is your content, and you put your content into an HTML tag, which is like the structure, right? And then, so say then you'd want to change the font to blue and 50 points. That would be presentation, which is the CSS. So the paragraph itself is the structure, and then the color and the font and anything like that, that is the CSS. Okay. So elements and tags, and just looking at this is you're kind of like, huh, like what does this mean? But I have some examples, then we're gonna hopefully do some of this together, so it'll give you a better idea. But so an element is just like a component of HTML, and I mean, just kind of think about writing on Microsoft Word. You have paragraphs, you have headings, you can add a table, there are lists, you can, do links, and then you can also add images and so forth. So it's kind of a similar comparison. Those are all the elements that go into the Word document, and then all of these are elements that go into the HTML file. So a tag then marks the beginning and end of an element, and there's typically a closing tag or an opening tag and then a closing tag. So this is a good example. Okay, so as you see here, tag name, that's the opening tag, and then there's stuff that goes between the tags, and then the tag name closes. So then same thing but with a paragraph. You see a p tag. This is a sample paragraph. You need p tags. Close p tag. Okay, so what I actually want to do is, let me put that down. All right, so this is the index.html file that we created last time, right? So say if I do a p tag, okay? So that's an opening, is that a greater than? Well, whatever. It's the shift, and where like the comma is, that character, and then you type in the letter P, and then you do the closing tag, which is like the shift and the period keys, or is that greater than? I forget the signs. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is a paragraph. And then a close tag is the same as an opening tag, except you put a / before the tag. So in this case, it would be P, right? Okay, so let's save that. This is a paragraph. Now I'm going to show you something cool. I just have to go back to the Finder. Okay, so see, we did this last time, the website and where the files are. So we don't have anything in the style.css or in the images, but in the index, if you open Chrome, as you can see, this is a paragraph. Look, it showed up. So that's your first HTML file. Congratulations. And if we inspect element, remember I talked about this last time with like the different toolkits. Okay, you can see here P, right? This is a paragraph. That's what we made. And for the CSS, the styles would show up here, but since we don't have any, there's none. And so see how this is, this is kind of, okay, so different browsers have different built-in styles and different settings, I guess you could say. So we'll get to this later, but a lot of times when you're doing a new CSS file, you'll do a reset, which will kind of just like start everything from scratch. Because again, like different browsers, so Safari or Mozilla or Chrome, Opera, they have these kind of like predefined settings. And that's actually, I think, why sometimes some things on the internet can look different in different browsers if the reset isn't done or maybe something was missing. So yeah, that's a little fun fact. Okay, so more about the tags. Oops, forgot to take out that. Okay. So yeah, again, the opening tag, okay, left angle bracket, and then you have the character in the middle. So this is the P or paragraph tag, and then you have the right angle bracket to close that opening tag. And again, the closing tag is this exact same thing as the opening, except you have that / before the character. Okay, so some more about elements. So the container element is anything that goes between those tags. So like in the paragraph tags, between the paragraph tags, the content, that would be the container, right? Yeah, an element that can contain. Okay, yeah, paragraph contains text. Okay, sorry. Okay, a standalone element is like a tag that doesn't need a closing tag. It's kind of built in, and there's really not that many of those, but an example, and I apologize, that's not supposed to be there, that's from a screenshot. Let me go back here. Okay, so the break tag, which is like this, BR, and actually if you just do this BR without the / it still works, but I suppose this is the proper way. Okay, and then there's also the image tag, which goes like this, but typically between here, you would have information about where the file is stored. So it wouldn't just be this, like just this. Actually, let's look what it does. All right, refresh. Yeah, you can see nothing shows up. Yeah, so you would need, for an image to show up, you would need to put in the file path in the image tag. Okay. Okay, so this is a bit more with elements, and I think once we start to do more examples and build things, it'll make a lot more sense. But, okay, so there are attributes which will give additional information to the HTML element, and these are just a few examples. So class, ID, language, style, identity, source, and they're placed inside the opening tag right before the angle bracket. Okay, so here would be an example. So see how, okay, div, ID, footer, and then text right there, brought to you by. Okay, so this is basically, go back, the attribute, right? The ID equals footer. Actually, apologies. ID is the attribute and footer is the value. See, I'm trying to teach all these terms that I just, like, I know the terms, but then when I try to explain it, there's just all these, all this technical jargon, and honestly, like when you start writing HTML, it all kind of makes sense, and you don't use these vocabulary terms. I mean, some of them you would use, like what a tag is, but I'm not saying, oh, the attribute to the element of the value or something. Okay, anyway. So as you can see here with the image, so this is the image tag, and notice it doesn't have the closing tag like the div does or the tag down here. And the src equals mylogo.jpg. The src means source. So you can see right here, source, that's an example of the attribute. And so yeah, that would be for the image, right? And then the A equals href, and then the URL. An A tag is for URLs, and the href is indicating the URL, and right here, that is the text that shows up as the anchor text. So let's go back here so we can look at this. Whoop. I'm just going to delete everything. I actually have it all already in another file to save some time, but you can see opening P tag, right? Opening paragraph tag, hello there. Closing paragraph tag, div, ID equals quotation marks, footer, closing quotation marks, brought to you by, and then the closing div tag, and then you have A and href equals my website, and you close the first A tag, and then you have learn to code with me, and then you close the tag. Okay, so let's look at that here. Refresh. Okay, paragraph, right? Hello there. And then this is that div we set up with the footer, brought to you by, and then here's the website, right? Learn to code with me. You click it, and it takes you to the website. So that was a success. So I'm going to stop here for today, and I'm surprised this took as long as it did, and I hope I didn't confuse anyone. Really, I think when you start just writing it and putting it together, it really makes a lot of sense. And as you can see here, I mean, nothing here I don't think looks that confusing, right? Like, the ID is signifying that it's going to be the footer eventually, but we don't have, that much, we don't have the page really set up yet, but eventually that would be at the bottom, right? And I hope I'm not confusing you more, but why the ID is important is really, I think, when it comes to setting up the CSS, because then you can reference the footer in the CSS, right, the presentation, and you can then give an appearance and set up, the design using that ID and just targeting the footer. Okay, so I hope that made sense, and I'm looking forward to doing this again, and I think it's really helping me just understand things better and realizing that just because, I know how to do something doesn't mean I know how to explain it, but I hope, I'm going to get better and be able to explain things better, because I do really want to help people online and also, of course, in person. So thanks again, and yeah, I'm Laurence Bradford, and my website is learntocodewith.me. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. Okay,